See, I can't even see my name right.
We want to have candid conversations.
Wow, wow, I got that wow, wow. Anything that I want, I'ma get it now. Yeah, wow, wow.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Clickworthy Convos. We are your hosts. I'm Maureen Connors, also known as Mo.
I'm Michaela. Everybody calls me MD except for people at work.
So we are here. We are making a podcast where we want to have candid conversations about a variety of marketing topics, things that will make marketing fun. We'll discuss real topics and problems submitted by our listeners. And hopefully when we're all together, we can all learn things and try real world situations and, show that there are different points of view.
I would like to think that there's a little something for everybody who chooses to listen, watch, whether you're on a walk or in a car ride or sitting in front of the screen and watching us do this in real life. I'd like to think there's a takeaway for everybody, whether it's, something encouragement, a laugh, a pick-me-up, good marketing insights and tips. I feel pretty confident that there's a little something for everybody in here.
Let's take a minute and talk about our why, because we are obviously not doing this without a reason.
That's fair.
MD and I recently started our own marketing consulting business called The Marketing Perspective. And we believe that we bring an unexpected perspective to marketing. And so we wanted to find a way to share our ideas, our methodologies with a broader audience. And we thought a great way to do it would be this podcast. And there are a lot of marketing podcasts today where they drive the topics. I think our unique twist is that we're going to let our audience drive the topics.
We want this to definitely be interactive, engaging, and something that's going to actually solve a problem or maybe give you answers or tools or different resources that you can use for whatever you're facing in your career, whether it's in your career itself and, what to do next if you're navigating that, or you're navigating a complex problem, how you talk to the C-suite, how you integrate with other teams and partners. I think there's a lot to be learned from all of our experiences. We've been around a minute. I know I look rather young, but there's some gray under this hat. So
there's definitely gray under there. I've seen it. I think at the end of the day, it's right. There's not 100% a perfect path forward. There's many ways that you can attack various marketing problems. And I think the goal here is that we want to talk about those different ways. We want to bring some guests on. We want to debate it. We want to talk about it. And we want to hear from our listeners, maybe even on some ways that they've handled these problems.
I'm a full believer, and I think you've really made me believe in this, but I've always kind of really believed that you can turn banter into breakthrough. I think great minds think differently. I know the saying is what great minds think alike, but I think that great minds think differently, which is why we're here today.
I agree. So we should probably address whether or not we're qualified to actually host a marketing podcast. So
Hard no. Absolutely
hard no.
Not
Absolutely
qualified.
Not. But I'll give a quick summary of me, and then MD, maybe you could talk a little bit about yourself. But Maureen Connors, I said that before. I have over 20 plus years marketing experience, despite looking so young. I did the move. And I've worked for some great brands like Barclays. I've worked in fintech for companies like Best Egg. And I started my career in advertising with Ogilvy and Mather, where I got to work with, iconic brands like American Express, DHL, and Cisco. So it's pretty exciting. I'm extremely passionate about marketing, and I'm excited to make it something we talk about weekly.
I love that you have a different, especially agency. I don't think you've ever went really full into the roster, but there's so many different industries in there. It's not just fintech, which I think is something that gives us a unique edge, because similar in my background, I'm going to say my name correctly this time, MD Klein. I come from an agency background. I started out in fashion, believe it or not. And then I went right into agency life, worked with a lot of different brands, startups. I helped launch Marcus by Goldman Sachs. So that was my kind of first into finance and fintech. And I weirdly liked it. I didn't think I was going to, but I liked it because it was a non-tangible product that I had to figure out how to do cool things with. So that's one of the biggest challenges I think in finance in general is like, how do you work with things that aren't really a thing, unless it's a credit card? And then I made my way to JP Morgan Chase, where I oversaw creative for Chase Freedom and Chase Sapphire, and we did some brand refreshes and some airport lounges, and then ended up in fintech with Best Egg. And I think people might think I'm crazy. Actually, I got called crazy a lot for leading such a conglomerate company working on some of the best and biggest brands. And I don't know if this is something that you came across either, is like, how could you go from these name brands to a fintech startup that isn't as well known? And it was just like, I really wanted the challenge of building something. That's what makes me tick and what makes me thrive. It's just like, yeah, it's cool to have $2-3 million budgets. Like, that's nice. Everybody wants that. But I think the more fun piece for me is the challenge of not having those things. How are we going to get this done well, but do it in a scrappy, agile way?
I think there's very few opportunities where you get to really work with an up and coming company and build a strong brand. I mean, I think that's one of the most exciting things. And one of the things that I learned working at Barclays in the co-brand business is you were building, you were merging essentially two brands, which is hard. Your bank brand with your co-brand partner brand. Who takes hero? How do you sort of make that balance? I mean, that's not easy. It's definitely something that we'll address on this call. But why did we decide to go into business together? How did that even happen? We should probably talk a little bit about our meet cute story, because I think it is cute. It's definitely like a little rom-com.
That's a loaded question. I mean, let's be real. When I met Maureen, she didn't like me. She
Didn't
was-
like
and
your team.
so it was through association that Maureen didn't necessarily like me. But I was just like, I was told she was a big deal, and I was just like, okay. And then we didn't really work too closely together, but I ended up like on the marketing team, and it was a holiday party. I will never forget this because it was one of the most uncomfortable but intimidating moments of my life. I was sitting at a holiday party with the CMO and two of his directs, and one of them being yourself. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I should not be here. And I didn't expect it to happen. It was just like the table became that. And I was like, what am I going to do? We had a nice little chit chat, and we started working together more. I think it was like, I don't know what your point of view was, but when I first started, it was like, there was a line in the sand where it's just like, we didn't really talk, and it was for whatever reason, but it was very like siloed and isolated. But then like we started communicating and reviewing things together and bringing you into conversations that you should have been a part of, but were never a part of. And I think that's where you started to like me a little bit, and I started to win you over, and I was learning a lot at the same time. I don't know if it was like, it felt like kind of awkward at that time for you to like have that.
No, I mean, I think initially, and this sometimes happens, I think with internal agencies, is it begins to feel very transactional, right? Like there's no true discussion on like what are the goals or iterative feedback. It's almost you become a victim, I think, of the workflow that you choose to operate in, right? And so it was very much, you send a piece of creative to me, and then I'm reviewing it on the back end, and I'm putting feedback in that you have at face value. There's no opportunity for you to really say like, hey, what's under this, right? And I think that that's a key lesson when we kind of took things out of the workflow and it became less transactional and became more collaborative. Like that's really where I think like I saw the talent on your side. And I think you saw a lot of where I was coming from
100%.
and where my frustration was with the type of how long things were taking and the type of work that we were seeing at the time.
And it wasn't just you, right? Like you were getting complaints from your team, and like I wasn't necessarily knowing your team. And I think that there was a lot to be said for kind of getting out of that working model. I love what you said about that. And to working together, like I was learning more, seeing directly where you were coming from, and so we could solution together and kind of come to a place where, okay, we both understand each other. How do we get to where we want to be in the best way? Yes, we might be an internal agency, but why does there have to be a line in the sand? I feel like we kind of broke that mold. And, I kind of was like maybe getting a little confidence there. Things are going great. And I mustered up all my courage. And I said, Maureen, will you be my mentor?
And I said no.
And I was expecting a no. I was expecting a no. I usually mentor marketing people, and I was expecting a no because you were very busy, and so I would have totally understood. I think I prefaced it with like totally okay to say no, but I went out on a limb and asked because I thought that there was a lot that I could learn from you, and I mean, it clearly did. So
Yeah. And I mean, when that happened, when you asked me, I was actually super excited. I saw it
really,
as an opportunity really to get closer to the creative side. And at that point, I would say we'd been working collaboratively for, 3 or 4 months. And I think we really changed like the output of what was coming out of your team from a creative perspective. And so I thought that this was an even better opportunity to get to know you more and to kind of unpack the talent that I'd already seen in order to kind of say like, hey, what's next? But that didn't last long, the mentor-mentee relationship, because
it did.
I would say within a month, maybe two, the head of brand left and we went from mentor mentee to you working directly for me, which at first for us, because we were having a really good, I think, time talking about the things like how do you navigate the organization, when should you be presenting things to the CMO, like what type of topics, like we had really gone pretty deep, I think, into that, and we're making progress. And suddenly the dynamic of our relationship like changed again. So it was like the second change within just a couple of months.
Mhm.
And we very quickly had to figure out like, is this still mentor mentee? It's now, more of a hierarchical relationship.
Right.
But I actually think like we were able to keep like both aspects and successfully navigate it and really do some really great work, particularly on product architecture and brand architecture during the short time that you reported to me and that we got to work together on the Best Egg brand.
Yeah, I mean, that was really thinking back on it. That was the first big project that we did because you took on like you had a meaty full plate. Like you had existing customer marketing, and then you took on brand, which also consisted of the creative team and the comms team. And that's a lot, like you essentially you doubled your scope, tripled your
Mhm.
scope, if you might. And I think you already had a big team, and then it doubled in size. And so I think that being able to navigate that and like work into it, but getting to that product architecture, like that was the first thing we did. But like you jumped in, which I couldn't have respected more. Like it was out of your comfort zone. Like, yeah, you had it experience in brand, but I think you had to dust it off and bring it back. And I think you did a great job jumping into it, even though you were like
I think it
somewhat
was
hesitant.
also it was at a point where between existing customer marketing and cross sell, like I was starting to wonder, what else was there for me? What was the next challenge? And so it was a unique challenge to come in and then to have the brand team and, assessing what was and is still an incredibly talented team. It was really exciting to see. and to work with everyone on that team. And then, I mean, how did we get here? So I decided to leave Best Egg in November to start thinking about my next move. Um, and, they were going through a reduction in force at the time. And I had gone on and interviewed for a couple of jobs, and I just didn't see anything that was really just making me feel excited again to get back into it. So I decided to do my own thing, and I reached out to you, Michaela, and said, "Hey, do you know do you, do you know of any designers or freelancers
You
who could?"
offended me.
I,
You didn't
I
reach out.
offended
You
you, fair.
offended.
Of any designers or freelancers who could help me put together a pitch deck. Yes, and there was hand raising, but at the time I didn't know that you had made a decision to take a package from Best Egg, so I wasn't aware that you were even, considering leaving. And so when you told me that and you said, "Hey, I could help you with your pitch deck," like I thought, there's no better person really to help me with my pitch deck, given how talented you were and are. And then when we met to do my pitch deck, I mean, we had a great meeting. You helped me figure out so much on like what needed to be in there, how do we tell the story? And again, I just think it was a really great partnership where different points of view come together and almost make and uplift things to be better. And I'll let you tell the story of after that meeting, working on the pitch deck, what happened next.
I mean, I myself wanted to do my own thing. I've always wanted to do my own thing. I think I know when I'm a hard no, and I know when I'm all in on something. And I knew I'd never be able to fully chase what I wanted to do. Like, I saw so many gaps. I've hired and fired agencies for so long, and I'm like, there is a gap with senior level expertise because we're so bogged down with admin and garbage reviews and all these things that I don't want to do. And you can't focus on doing the day job. Like, I was working 14 hours a day to fit in the day job and my actual job. And so I was just like, I was tired, I was exhausted, and I didn't realize how far gone I was, like losing my own spark. And I was just like, I am someone who is not afraid of hard work, but I want to work hard for something that I want to do and that I know is going to make a difference and can be impactful. So as like after we had that meeting, like I was so energized and inspired by like what you were doing. I mean, I remember talking to you and just being like, we should do this together. Like we work really well together. We can have difficult conversations, like we haven't always had the easiest conversations, but like all of those things lead to really good work. And I think everything that we've done that's come out so solid together, we've worked through in real time somehow, whether it's over Zoom or in person. Like, it's worth getting down and dirty to do like a 3-hour power hour session versus bits and pieces here and there, because we never get anything done. So it's just like that type of working, like we knew how to work together. We knew like our opposing perspectives would get us to a really strong place. We've seen that result. And then we also have fun together. I mean, you drive me crazy, but it's entertaining for some people. We've heard that from so many people on the team. Yes. They just love when we get in a room because all we do is argue.
Because I'm extremely anal retentive.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, that's a whole other topic, but
needless to say, I jumped at the opportunity to partner, to create the business and then to create this podcast. So like talking about how do we build this business, part of what we sort of talked about was credibility. And like having these type of discussions, we can create an audience who can decide, is this the type of, position that they want from a marketing consulting agency? Do they want to come in and have different types of perspectives? And So our plan really is to talk about items that are submitted by our audience weekly. So obviously we have to build the audience. So we're going to curate some topics. Our next topics are going to be how to create an effective marketing plan, and then the role of AI in the changing marketing world. We're going to release these podcasts weekly, and we're going to have guests, and you're going to be able to hear some of these guests that we think fit with your questions, fit with your marketing problems. We'll have guests on so that you don't just get our point of view, but you may also get a third point of view. We'll have them engage and talk about it, and we're really excited for what we could produce. And we'll have always on segments. We'll have one that is either brands we love, or Michaela, what's the other one?
The other one is marketing fails. So brands that are not so much the ones that we love, but full on marketing fails.
And the marketing fails is a way to say, like, failure's a part of marketing. 100%. Michaela's had failures. I've had failures. How do you learn from it, right? So when we do that segment, it won't necessarily be about, hey, this is a failure. Let's, point, laugh, and giggle. But what did we learn? What could we have done differently? And what can people take away for the next time? So I'm really excited for what's going to come. We have already recorded 2 additional podcasts that you can download after this one. But we'd be looking for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to our website, marketingperspective.com, and then you can submit your marketing problems using our website. You can also find out where you can listen to our podcast. It'll be on Spotify. We'll release it on LinkedIn. Follow us on social media. But the most important thing that we ask of our audience is submit your marketing challenges. We want content. We want this content to be curated, I can speak today, by our audience. And we really want to make you a part of our show. And the best way to do that is to talk about the things that are most interesting to you.
I think another thing too, just on the marketing problems piece, you just kind of sparked it, is like marketing questions. Like, it may not be a problem that you're dealing with, but if there's a question on how to navigate something or a certain conversation, like, I think to your point exactly, like, we want this to be interactive and engaging, and we want to be almost having the conversations with you. But I think, understanding what you're dealing with, what you're navigating, I think that's going to be something that's going to be helpful, not just for you, but also for us. We'll learn by what's going on in other different areas, but I think other people can learn from that as well. They probably have the same questions.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you'll listen to our other 2 episodes. Hopefully you'll subscribe, and we will see you next week.